the night sky over Crimea was not silent. For months, Russia had claimed that its stronghold on the Black Sea Peninsula was untouchable, a fortress bristling with defenses, guarded by fighter jets, air defense systems, and thousands of soldiers. But on this night, the illusion of invincibility cracked. From the shadows of the sea and the fields beyond the Dnipro, Ukrainian missiles streaked across the horizon. Their targets were precise: airbases, ammunition depots, radar stations, the very nerve centers of Russia's grip on Crimea. And when they hit, the explosions lit the night like thunderous suns. One after another, blasts rolled across the peninsula. Fireballs engulfed hangars. Shockwaves shattered windows miles away. Russian soldiers scrambled, running blindly, unsure of where the next strike would come from. The air was filled with sirens, smoke, and the panicked shouts of commanders trying desperately to regain control. For the first time in months, Russian jets, the pride of Moscow's air force, were not taking off to challenge Ukraine's drones or missiles. Instead, they were fleeing. Fighter planes roared down runways, not to engage, but to escape. Dozens of aircraft, from Su-30s to the advanced Su-35s, lifted into the night sky, heading deeper into Russian-controlled territory, away from the flames that now consumed their bases. Civilians in Crimea watched in shock. From balconies, they saw the mighty Russian military, once a symbol of domination, scrambling like ants from a burning hill. Videos began to spread across Telegram and social media, endless convoys of military trucks rushing toward bridges, warplanes evacuating, explosions tearing apart supposedly safe bases. The panic was real, and it was spreading fast. But perhaps the most dramatic scene came when the Kerch Bridge, the lifeline connecting Crimea to mainland Russia, was suddenly closed. Russian authorities announced technical reasons, but everyone knew the truth. Ukraine had made the bridge too dangerous to use. Overnight, the artery of supplies, reinforcements, and escape was cut off. Long queues of cars piled up as families tried desperately to leave. Streets that had once been calm turned into rivers of honking horns, shouting voices, and flashing headlights. The promise of Russian protection felt like dust in the air. And yet, this chaos was no accident. For Ukraine, this was not just about destroying bases. It was psychological warfare, a message to both Moscow and the residents of Crimea. Nowhere is safe. Behind closed doors in Kyiv, Ukrainian commanders had planned this operation with surgical precision. Intelligence from Western satellites, local partisans, and intercepted Russian communications revealed vulnerabilities. Depots filled with ammunition were hidden but not invisible. Air bases crammed with jets were heavily guarded but not impenetrable. When the first wave of strikes landed, it wasn't just metal and fuel that exploded.
Was the illusion of Russian control. Russian state media scrambled to contain the disaster. Anchors claimed that air defenses had successfully intercepted most attacks. But videos told another story: endless fireballs rising from bases, smoke clouds visible for miles, and terrified residents asking, "Why are our jets running away?" For soldiers on the ground, morale collapsed. Some abandoned their posts. Others recorded videos of chaos, whispering in fear about more attacks to come. Commanders barked orders, but many knew the truth: their strongholds were crumbling. This was not the first time Ukraine struck Crimea. From the early days of the war, Kyiv had made clear, Crimea was not Russia's safe zone. But never before had strikes been so coordinated, so devastating, and so public. This was a turning point. As jets fled, Ukraine's message echoed louder than the explosions: Crimea is vulnerable. Russia cannot protect it, and soon, it may fall. The panic reached Moscow within hours. Reports flooded the Kremlin: multiple airbases in Crimea destroyed, dozens of aircraft damaged or fleeing, depots burning, the Kerch Bridge shut down. Putin's advisors struggled to explain. Russia had poured billions into defending Crimea, S-400 missile systems, radar networks, layers of troops. And yet, in a single night, Ukraine had cracked open the shield. Inside Russia, nationalist bloggers erupted in fury. "Where are our defenses?" they demanded. "How could this happen again?" Some even accused the military leadership of betrayal or incompetence. The Kremlin responded with silence, then with propaganda. They claimed everything was under control. But the images were undeniable: jets running, streets filled with chaos, bases burning. For ordinary Russians, especially those with family in Crimea, fear spread like wildfire. Meanwhile, in Kyiv, there was no celebration, only determination. Ukrainian officials released no official statements about the strikes. Instead, they let the images speak for themselves. Silence, they knew, was more powerful than boasting. Every explosion carried its own message: we are coming closer. Western analysts called it one of the most significant blows to Russian prestige in the war. Not just militarily, but psychologically. The strikes revealed that Moscow's fortress was full of cracks, that even its most prized territory could be set ablaze. And as the smoke rose over Crimea, the question in everyone's mind was clear: what comes next? And this was only the beginning. Ukraine had shown its hand, and it was stronger than anyone expected. But Russia, humiliated and cornered, was unlikely to stay silent. The world braced itself for Moscow's response. Because if jets could flee and bridges could close in Crimea, then the very future of Russia's war was at stake. The second night in Crimea was darker than usual. Entire neighborhoods near Simferopol and Sevastopol had lost electricity. Residents lit candles, their shadows flickering against cracked walls. Mothers hushed their children as distant explosions thundered across the peninsula. For many, it felt as if war had finally reached their doorstep. Russian state TV continued to broadcast its defiance, repeating that Crimea remains untouchable. Yet, those very words felt hollow as footage leaked online: massive fires at military airfields, Russian servicemen evacuating wounded comrades, and civilians capturing video of long convoys of trucks retreating north. The Crimea Bridge, once a proud symbol of Russian control, was now closed for the third consecutive day. Its silence spoke louder than Moscow's words. No cars, no trains, no trucks, only the sound of the waves crashing beneath. The bridge had become a ghostly monument to Russia's vulnerability. Russian officers inside Sevastopol headquarters argued heatedly over maps spread across oak tables. "We cannot hold if this continues," one colonel shouted. "The Ukrainians have the precision. They strike when and where they want. Our air defenses are failing." His superior slammed a fist on the table, silencing the room. But silence did not bring solutions. Meanwhile, Ukrainian drone operators hundreds of kilometers away calmly watched their screens. One operator whispered, "Target locked." Seconds later, a hangar housing 2 Russian Su-34 fighter jets erupted into flames. The operators exchanged no cheers, only quiet nods. Their mission was not revenge, it was liberation. In Moscow, panic quietly brewed among the elite. Oligarchs who once vacationed freely in Crimea were now canceling trips, whispering fears that Ukrainian long-range strikes could soon reach luxury villas on the southern coast. The Kremlin's grip on its wealthy supporters was slipping. Ordinary Russians, too, were noticing the cracks. Social media channels filled with shaky videos of explosions in Crimea, contradicting the sanitized news on state television. Comments flooded in. "They told us everything is under control. Why are our soldiers dying then?" Another simply wrote, "Crimea is no longer safe." As the pressure mounted, Russian commanders ordered an emergency redeployment of jets. One by one, MiG-29s, Su-24s, and Su-34s roared into the sky, leaving behind their Crimean bases for safer airfields deeper in Russia. Villagers looked up as the jets thundered overhead, many realizing it was not a sign of power, but retreat. The panic reached a climax when Ukraine targeted fuel depots near Sevastopol. The night sky turned orange, flames rising so high they were visible for miles. Fuel trucks exploded like dominoes, and desperate Russian firefighters worked under constant fear of secondary strikes. The loss was catastrophic. Without fuel, planes could not fly, tanks could not roll, and ships could not sail. On the streets of Sevastopol, chaos unfolded. Long queues formed at gas stations. Shops shut down. Families packed belongings, rushing toward the northern exit roads. But with the Crimea Bridge closed, many had nowhere to go. For the first time in years, the people of Crimea felt trapped, abandoned by Moscow's promises. Meanwhile, in Kyiv, Ukrainian officials watched events with calm determination.